it did feel as though like, have I just dropped out to like eventually become a bum? Because this kind of seemed like I just dropped out and just told people I'm going to be an actor. Everyone's like in uni progressing. It felt as though that was the way to progress, and if you weren't doing that at the time, then you weren't progressing. That's the difficult thing with this, because you kind of want to have something to show, like, or when you don't have this sort of body of work, and you kind of only have your own sort of belief in what you're doing, and you have to have the stamina to keep that belief through the times when you feel as though like you're not really doing anything. Nobody else was in the room the day that I was like, no, I can do this. Do you know what I mean? It was just me. It's what I see in myself, what I believe in myself, what I believe that I can do.
First of all, I want to congratulate you for season 2, Dreaming While Black.
Thank you for
coming out.
Thank you.
What does that feel like when a show that you're working on actually gets greenlit for a season 2? Because as viewers, when something doesn't happen for season 2, we're vexed. I even get vexed when they say it's renewed, but we ain't going to see it for like 2 more years. Yeah. So like for you guys, what does that feel like?
Well, yes, because it's like more work. Pay my bills. Sorry. I would say, you know, it's a nice bit of validation, because, you know, you put hard work into it and you believe in it, and it's a sign that not only the people like it, because sometimes it's not enough for the people to like it, but the people that actually put the show on, they like it, or at least they like the fact that everyone else likes it. So that's always a nice feeling. And it's like, it's cool, man, because, you know, you kind of grow up watching shows, and you watch, like, you know, we all watch shows, and it was like season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
Like, so we all grew up with shows. Do you know what I mean? So it's nice to have a show that potentially could be a show that people growing up now actually grew up with, and like, oh yeah, I used to watch that when I was growing up. So it's a really nice thing, and hopefully we can make a really good season 2 and come back for season 3 and 4 and whatever else. Yeah, man.
Amen to that. Because you mentioned there's other things that people look into other than whether someone likes a show or not. Yeah. What are the other elements that go into choosing?
So it's about money. So is it marketable? Is it like so popular that like it brings in like lots of numbers? What else? And then even just the powers that be, the people that commission the shows, if they really like a show, then they'll keep it going even if the numbers aren't that strong. So it's those are some of the other factors that go into a show surviving past season 1.
It's interesting because, like, you mentioned the shows that go up to like season 8, 9 and 10, and I wonder, that was during the time when we only had access to so many channels, no streaming platforms, whereas now we've got so much choice, so much variety. It's like, for you to get a smash hit is going to be very, very slim.
It's hard. It's harder than ever. Like, because there's more choice than ever. There's more things that are niche and catered to people that like completely different things. So many different things can have their own audience, that everything is quite diluted. For something to be something that like a lot of people like, it has to be like really, really good, or just something that's really relatable that a lot of people can be like, okay, yeah, no, I need to tune into. That's why shows like Love Island and stuff like that,
it works, right?
Does really well, because, you know, a lot of people can relate to just the simple thing, which is just like dating, or like man, women, love.
Simple as that. Like, because there's something to be said about like the shared experience of like life, and actually the shared experience to watch something all at the same time. Because when I think back, like I remember Breaking Bad, for example, where everyone's looking forward to what the episode's coming up. Game of Thrones. Oh yeah, everyone's looking forward to that. Do you think we're going to get back to that kind of space where we actually have a show that everyone loves?
I think every you know what? Let me not say yeah so confidently. Probably there will be something. Maybe not that everybody watches. I don't think that's ever going to be possible again. Like, because you just have to look at, like, you know, you look at over the decades. Think about when TV first started. There might have been 2 programs. Everybody has to watch 2 programs, and then 10 years later, there's 20 programs. That's still 20 programs divided between how many people, and then there's like 100. Then you get to choose. Like, oh, I like sci-fi. I like cowboy. I like cooking shows. I like this. So as time goes on and there's more things and there's more places that you can watch different things, it's going to be really difficult to get something that like everybody watches together. I think the best thing that you can hope for is something that kind of impacts like an audience, say like Black Twitter. If you can get something that can pop on Black Twitter, then it will kind of disseminate like elsewhere into other cultures, and then it will become like and that's all you really need. You need to become like a phenomenon within a certain popular enough like fan base, and then they can become something like. So yeah, it's possible. I think we'll see something like that in the next couple of years.
It's interesting you mentioned that, the concept of fan basing, because it's like, Power,
yeah,
and like Power's got so many seasons now, like Finding Cain, Raising Canaan.
I haven't watched different anything. Shows, different spin-offs, like,
and they've still been able to find their like viewership. I think, what's the name of the Zeus network, like in America, where it's just like crazy TV shows. So when you're like going for auditions or looking at shows, I guess first question, what's your favorite genre? And then secondly, does that influence the type of roles you might go for?
I don't know if I have a favorite. I'd want to do like drama. I want to do like a drama, but I also want to do like sci-fi. So, and I don't know if I'd put one above the other. Probably like, in terms of the actual acting, probably like a drama, because like, acting wise, it's more challenging. But then again, sci-fi has its own challenges, like probably on, say, like a physical level, imagination level. So probably between those two. And then in terms of, what was the other part of the question?
So like turning down jobs if it doesn't fit.
No, it's more about the story itself. Like if the story itself is something that can appeal to me or something that I like, then the genre doesn't really matter. As long as the story is like something that speaks to me, then it's cool. As long as I want to tell the story, then the genre doesn't come secondary to that.
And talk to me, because you said about like drama requires more of you. So you like the challenging aspect of like different personas?
Yeah, definitely. Because I'd say with comedy, it's like something that comes natural to me. I'm a person that tells jokes like just my day-to-day life. So to do comedy is like, it's just like breathing. But with drama, it's like, you're in really real dramatic situations which are like really high tension, and you have to probably put yourself in situations that you don't normally just go to like every single day, which is a challenge, which is...
Yeah, how do you prepare yourself for that?
It depends, like, life experience. We've all had arguments, or we've all had situations that made us like sad or angry, or made us experience like different emotions. So I feel like those things help. Like my thing always is like watching other stuff. Like I'm always watching TV shows and films, and that's how I like learn in terms of stuff like that. So yeah, there's things like that I used to prepare myself, and just imagination more than anything else.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned about like watching TV shows, because I remember there was a time where I actually broke my brain. So when I say that, is like I was watching The Wire, and instead of me watching the story, I was watching people act.
Oh.
And it took me such a long time to kind of like get out of that. Like I was watching people act, and I was like, they have fake guns. Like, why are they pretending this? Like it was such a surreal thing for me.
Right.
So then, and because I feel like there's some actors that you watch them, you can tell like they're really, really like trying hard. And there's other actors where it's like effortless, the way they're able to just flip between characters.
Yeah.
So as you act and watch TV shows, like, is it easy for you to watch the show for what it is, or do you also see people like act?
No, yeah, I completely watch it like from a technical...
Oh, you watch from a technical point of view?
I watch it from a technical like point of view, where I'm just thinking about the scene, because I know everything isn't what it is in terms of like when you're watching something. I'm just like, okay, that's a set. I can see the set, like, because I've been on the sets, and I'm just like, okay, so I'm looking at it. I'm just thinking of like what it would be like to film the scene, the shot that they're using. Probably how I would like. You just start putting yourself in the scenario, so you don't watch it the same way, because it just becomes like it's work, so it's not like, it's just not the same no more. Whereas I used to watch stuff and it's just kind of like I'm taking in a story and it's just like, yeah, this is fun. Now, because it's still fun, don't get me wrong, I can still like switch off. If I go to the cinema, it's a lot easier to just like switch off because it's like, you know, the setting. But yeah, definitely now it's just more from a technical standpoint. I'm kind of just analysing and thinking, okay, I wouldn't have made that choice, but yeah, I see where it's going with that. Yeah, so stuff like that. Yeah.
So you mentioned about like the technical aspect. So like, give me an example of something you might watch, and then you're like, oh, why did they do that?
Well, it's not necessarily why did they do that. It's like, how did they do that, or how did they get it done so seamlessly? And the thing is, as well, is with a bit more experience, you learn that editing is like a really massive part of the whole process. So, you know, you can do things over and over and over again, and you can watch a performance and it can be like 4 or 5 different takes patched together, because it's like, oh, there was a really good look there and there was a really good moment here, but it doesn't work with the rest of that scene, so we're gonna pick that out, put that there. So, you know, there's so many different things that goes into performances. So it's more like, say I'm watching someone like Denzel Washington, and it's more like the way he uses his eyes, like
that the squint.
Yeah, and then sometimes it's like, one thing that gets me is how a lot of, like, you know, the big actors, they just do stuff without really moving their head too much. A lot of the things just kind of comes from like just being still, just being like here, but then your face is doing like all the work. So that's another thing to learn, because I remember when I've watched more experienced actors than myself perform, I see that it seems like they're doing so little from the outside, but then when you look at it like on a close-up, like so many things is going on.
You're talking about like emotions in the face.
Yeah, emotions and just the little ticks in the face and stuff like that. All these little things here. Yeah, just learning about how it works and just how to implement it yourself without making it too surgical, like it's too
technical.
Fake. Yeah. Not fake, but like too made up.
Too made up.
Yeah.
Elaborate.
So it's like, say...
Okay, I'll give you a scene.
No.
I'll give you one of your scenes, yeah?
Go on then.
So the scene in Dream Room So Are Black, when you were crying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you, when you were practicing for that, were you telling yourself, don't make him technical? And like feel with it. Like, how were you, I guess, doing that?
So that one was about trying to merge the technical aspect of crying on camera with the real aspect of like actually crying and being in the moment. So it's like you want the camera to capture it. Do you know what I mean? So you kind of have to. So the technical aspect is like where you place yourself and the timing of how everything happens, because obviously you don't start the scene crying, it kind of like builds, so you kind of have to technically find yourself in a place emotionally where by the time you start talking, you start like, you can like, yeah, so that's I don't even know how to explain it like other than to do it, but yeah, it's stuff like that where it's like, okay, you're trying to get the technical aspect with the actual, you know, real life aspect of like crying.
Yeah. No, I love that. Because especially like when you have theatre, there's no editing. So it's literally on the spot. Like you have to be ready to, I guess the level of acting must be much higher.
Yeah, definitely with theatre, because again, it's live. It's constantly going. There's no cut. There's no do-over. There's no okay, yes, Sol's gonna come do your makeup, and yeah, okay, we're gonna go again. That was great. Let's do that again. Like, so it's like so much more difficult, because it's just like, again, it's more of a stamina game. It is much more of a memory game, because you're actually doing the whole show. And if you get lost, sometimes it can get hard to get back on track. So yeah, definitely more difficult. Definitely, like by far. But the difficulty is different in screen than it is like, say, theatre because you need to do way more with way less. So that's like really difficult. That's why some people can't do like one or the other, you know, because it's like they require very different things, and it's not easy to be very good at either one of them.
Because I guess you probably will rely on one thing more than the other, right? Like as in maybe if you're more of a on-screen actor, then you might have in your reserve that, okay, I can do this in 10 takes. We'll get it eventually. Whereas theatre, the pressure is a bit higher, so then you have to get it done, would you say?
The pressure is that's why I say it's different, because like say like because he just mentioned like 10 takes there, which like it's an absolute luxury. The thought of doing something for 10 takes, like I personally haven't done anything that went to 10 takes unless it was like a technical issue where like the sound or there was a plane flying over, something like that, because generally, say at least in like say like TV, they're trying to get it done in about 3 takes, maybe. Yeah, about 3 takes.
Because they ain't got time. You got to keep it moving.
Ain't got time. We need to get this done. We're already like running over, and we just started the day. Like usually, like honestly, we'll start like the day will start, and it's like, okay, guys, we're running behind. Like it's like 8 a.m. What do you mean we're running behind? Yeah. But like we're running behind. So yeah, like you want to get things done in very few takes. So that there's that pressure of trying to get it right in the amount of takes before you start feeling like I'm slowing the pace down of the day because I'm asking for more. Even though realistically as an actor you shouldn't feel bad for wanting to do a scene again. You should be able to, not too many times, but you should be able to be like, oh guys, you know what, I don't feel like I got that, can we do that again? And then it should be fine. But you don't want it to be like, yeah, let's go again, guys.
Because it's a confidence thing as well. Because you're trying to say like, I'm at the same level as you guys here, like. So you might. There's a lot of pressure, I guess, to get things done.
Yeah, it's like a professional sort of etiquette. Like you want to come in prepared, and you don't want to slow the process down because you're unprepared. Like if the process gets slowed down because you don't feel like a scene went right, I think that's fine, because at the end of the day, what we're here to do, we're here to get this right. So, you know, that can happen. But if it's like I'm messing up lines because I'm just not prepared, then that's when you feel like, okay, I'm bringing this down, like, because I wasn't paying attention properly. I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing last night. So yeah.
And so what, I guess, even if we take the journey to the beginning, like what inspired you to be an actor? Have you always wanted to be that as a young age?
Yeah, man. My parents, my dad always we've always watched films, always like gone to the cinema from a young kid. So I've always just been in the cinema dreaming, thinking that I could do it. I've always just wanted to be like in the movies. So I never knew it was a possible career to pursue until like pretty much when I started doing it. But yeah, I've always wanted to do it like from when I can remember. Like, I always was in school plays, like drama clubs, extracurricular, like all of that. I always did it from like primary school all the way through to like year 11.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So I always
had an interest,
had a love for it, and I just never knew that it was just something that you could do. But then, you know, lo and behold, here we are.
What was that transition like? Because let's just say you're year 11, you've stopped acting as much as you were doing, you've gone to sixth form. I'm assuming all the subjects went technical, or do you still have like a drama in there?
No, so I wanted to do drama, but I've told this story so many times. But my dad, he told me that I couldn't do drama. Sorry, man, it's because like it's just the way he said it.
How did he say it?
Oh man, so I'm gonna make it real quick. Like, so basically, year 11, my dad's driving me home from like school, and then we're talking about like the topics that I want to do like going into college. And I was like, yeah, Dad, I want to do performing arts. I want to do acting. And then obviously my dad was driving, and obviously I was I'm in the back seat, and obviously just all I can see is just the back of his head and his hand on the steering wheel. And he was just like, no, accounting and maths. And that's the whole conversation. Man, whenever I think about that, it just makes me laugh, because it's just like, imagine I just listened and just decided to, my life would be so different. But so that was the first obstacle in terms of just not being able to like pursue it in the academic route. And then went to uni, was just studying for a year doing sports therapy, thinking that, okay, because I like football, because I love sports, maybe if I do like a sportish degree, then maybe if I can't do acting, then I'll do something else that I really enjoy. But I just realised like after like 2 months that, no, I can't do this.
After 2 months?
Yeah, no, literally, I just stopped going to lectures. I was just like, what am I doing here? Like, am I going to do this for the rest of my life? That's what I was thinking there. Just like, no, I'm not going to do this. And then, yeah, I remember I was in uni, skiving off lessons as I did every day. And I bought myself like a cinema card at the local cinema in Luton. And then I started watching films there every day for free. Well, not for free, but if you pay like £5 a month for the card, you can watch films for free every day. So I watched Attack the Block. So this is back in 2011. Mm-hmm. I watched Attack the Block, and I saw John Boyega, I saw Franz Dremel, I saw like all the actors there that were like between 14 and 17, which was my age at the time. And I was just thinking, hold on, these guys are all like in this movie with the same accent as me. And I'm here in uni just like not doing what I want. So I was just like, nah, fuck it. I'm going to be an actor. If these guys could do it, I could do this shit too. Like, so I literally went online, Googled all their names, looked at like their paths, or just to see whatever it was that they did. And I just immediately signed up to Identity Drama School. That's where John Boyega went. Immediately signed up there, and I just started doing like the classes there. Yes, and it's good because you meet other actors and you start to network and you start to learn a little bit about the industry. You learn about auditions and stuff like that, and then you start the grind. That's what I like to call it, where you're just kind of like trying to build yourself up, trying to be seen by anyone. And then, you know, you keep on going, you meet people, and, you know, luckily just through opportunities and a lot of determination and just a lot of hard work and just thinking that, yeah, this is the only thing that I'm going to do. That was the thing for me. I was just like, this is it. Like, I dropped out of uni, I got no degree, so...
I mean, how was that conversation then?
Terrible, man. It was terrible. Like,
because like obviously, if you haven't been going lessons for like a year, so did you like warm up your parents before dropping?
Yeah. No, I warmed them up. Oh yeah. So my mum, when I dropped out, my mum didn't know. So at first they just thought. At first I told them, I'm gonna commute this second year. Yeah, I'm gonna commute. And I'm just gonna travel into uni from home. So that's why I was back home. So that's one strong lie out of the way. So now I had to go out of the house every day to go to lectures.
Where were you going?
Oh man, literally I'd just go outside. I'd go outside. So sometimes I might go to my brethren's house. Like, so in the beginning, before everyone's gone back to uni, some of your friends are still like in London. So I just go to my friend's house at first. So like, for the first 2 weeks, that's what I was doing. Then after a while, when everyone was actually back at uni, I was like, shit, I got nowhere to go. So I went, so for like 2-3 days, I'd go outside and like just go to like the library, just like apply for jobs, just thinking, oh shit, what am I, like I can't keep up this. So, because I lived with my mum, eventually I just said, mum, you know, I want to pursue acting, and I've dropped out of uni. And then she was on board. She was just like, okay, how do you want to do this? And she was just on board. And I was just like, okay, I didn't need to lie to my mom. It was my dad. Because I know he was like very much a degree first guy. So for like 2 years, I told him, yeah, I'll go to uni. Because my dad was one of those dads that, how's uni? Oh, good, dad. Good. So it's really easy to like
just get away with it.
To get away with it, like up until there's a time to produce a degree, then it's like, oh, so you told me it's good for the last 2 years.
Where's the graduation?
Where's the graduation? So then when the 2 years was up, my statute of limitations was up. I told him that I failed. So what I told him was that I failed the course. But then instead, in terms of like trying to give him like the truth, I was like, but now I'm not going to do like another degree. I'm going to pursue acting now. So I did tell him after like 3 years that I was going to pursue it. And then he was like, okay, so what course are you going to be starting? It's like, no, Dad, no, it's not a course. I'm just doing it. It's just like, but what do you mean you're just doing it? He just couldn't understand the concept of like just doing it.
Like, where's the backup plan?
Yeah. All I had at the time was just working at Waitrose. So I just kept on doing that for years.
How was that though? Because like, obviously you see... No. I mean, there's both sides of the coin, yeah. Because obviously all your mates, they're at uni, they're doing their thing, they're having a lifestyle. And then you're at Waitrose, like, figuring out, okay, I'm going to do this active thing. You're going to the drum
that
school.
Was tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was tough because when you finish college, it's kind of, the trajectory is very, very like straightforward. Primary school, secondary school, college, uni.
Yep.
Then you're in the world, right? And obviously, I was just one of those people that I just thought, this is mad. So when everyone was just like doing it, at that point when I dropped out of uni and like you tell your friends, like, oh yeah, I dropped out, and they're like, what? You dropped out, bro? You can't drop out, bro. What are you gonna do? Like, because it kind of felt like it just had to be uni into something, or like, okay, like if it's like a vocational thing, that plumbing into the plumbing. So because there was like no safety net, it did feel as though like, have I just dropped out to like eventually become a bum? Like, it felt like that because obviously it didn't seem as though it was like a possible thing. It didn't really seem as though, it just kind of seemed like I just dropped out and just told people I'm going to be an actor, because effectively that is what it was. So yeah, it was a scary time, man, because everyone's like in uni progressing, not in the sense that they're not progressing, but in the sense of like, it felt as though that was the way to progress, and if you weren't doing that at the time, then you weren't progressing. It's like you're an outsider. Stagnant, yeah. So yeah, that was a scary time, but it kind of scares you into like, hey, you have to make this work, because people are going to graduate and then people are going to see you in a couple of years and like, oh yeah, man, I've started my, yeah. So what you doing? Yeah, so like Waitrose, bro. But I'm still in the acting thing, like, it just feels as though like you're chatting shit, but that's what it was, like, that's what it was. I was at Waitrose and I was still on the acting thing. I was going to my classes, doing whatever, meeting these people, just like slowly, just like building up the experience that I needed to like put myself where I am today. So yeah, man, it was like it's been a mad journey, like especially through like the early years, because it was just a lot of, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing something. That's what it was. It's like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm doing something.
So it felt like you was actually making progress each day? Or like over time? Over time,
because it's like, because you have your ups and downs where it's like, one year you do like a short film and it's like, okay, like I was on the set, like that was good. So how do we try and make the last job into a new job, and how do I make this relationship like pay off to be something that I can do like in the future? So with those ups and downs, it was like, sometimes you feel like you're progressing, sometimes you just feel really stagnant. Yeah. That's the difficult thing with this, because you kind of wait, or you kind of want to have something to show. Like, see, now it's like, okay, I can be like, okay, I've done this show and I've done this and I've done that, which is nice, because it's like, it's easy to mark the progress now, because it's like, yeah, you can see this, you can see that, you can see this, you can see that. Whereas before, when you don't have this sort of body of work, then you kind of only have your own sort of belief in what you're doing, and you have to have the stamina to keep that belief through the times when you feel as though like you're not really doing anything.
I think that is the most challenging one, because like it reminds me of where you're trying to get a job, right? But they tell you need more experience in order to get the job, and it's like, my brother, I'm here to get the experience.
Exactly.
Like, come and look at me for who I am, like, see my potential. And like, especially in those early stages where, I don't know, I mean, you can tell me where you've actually decided to start acting or training as an actor at 19, 20, where there's some people who, where you went to college, they kept on going. And it's like, you're competing with them. Like, that in itself takes another level of self-belief,
Yeah, that's crazy, because I used to think, but what about all these drama school students that I'm like up against and stuff like that? But when you quickly realize is that you can't pay attention to like anyone else. Like, you just have to, because nobody else was in the room the day that I was like, no, I can do this. Do you know what I mean? It was just me. So it's what I see in myself, what I believe in myself, what I believe that I can do. And that's the only thing that I can really affect. I can't affect somebody that went to RADA or Lambda. Those are like big UK drama schools. Somebody that went to those drama schools for 5 years and they've done all this modern training and old training and Stanislavski and all this, like, all the classical things in drama and acting. But
does that even matter?
Yeah, does it even matter? I'm not going to say that it doesn't matter. I'm just going to say it's not the only way to prosper. And without that, you do get some benefits of like just a bit of rawness, because I haven't been to drama school. There's certain things that I haven't been coached to do, which could be could have its pros and cons. So yeah, I just like to look at it like that. So in terms of like comparing myself to like the people that had been like with a head start in terms of they had, at first I used to think to myself like, oh shoot, like, nah, there's no way if I'm doing this audition, if somebody's in drama school, they're gonna be better than me, like, just because, which is like a crazy way to look at it when you say it out loud like that, but that's how it feels at the time, because you put yourself at deficit because you think, no, drama school is the way to do it. So if people are in drama school, they must be better than me, because they got in, they've done the work, they've been doing this for years now, and I've just started. So, but your natural ability is your natural ability, Yeah,
there's also like, you have like a logical brain and the artist type of brain. And I think sometimes when you're, I guess, not molded through like the artist like creative way, like from our household, it's very like logical. You do this, you get this output. Yeah. Whereas I feel like with art, you can give 100%, you give 1%. Yeah, sometimes you get the same outcome. I like that in itself is a lesson that you kind of have to learn like ASAP, where your work ethic, 9 times out of 10, it should lead to what you should get.
Yeah.
But sometimes it doesn't work like that, because there's the bit of magic or the bit of spark that you can see in people who may have no. Je ne sais quoi. That's exactly it. So as you're going through that, like working at Waitrose, what made you decide to do your skits?
The skits, again, so like I said, like I've always been a person that made jokes and stuff like that. And when I first started seeing like A Dot and Don't Jealous Me and like Babatunde do like all them old school sketches that were on like Facebook and stuff like that, I was like, oh no, these are funny, but I can do that. Like, but I just kind of was like, but who am I going to do it with? Do you know what I mean? I wasn't going to do it by myself. So I was a little bit lazy in terms of just like the whole practicality of doing all the different characters, because I could do the different characters. I was just like, nah, I'd rather do this with like somebody else that I find funny. So I remember I came across Tommy Expensive, his videos back in the day, and I had a mutual friend with him who also used to do the videos, a guy called George. So I was just like, bro, let's just put me in contact with him. Like, I think I can make his videos funnier. That's what I said. I said, I think I can make his videos funnier. And then I don't know whether it came across cocky or whether he thought, okay, let's see. But then, yeah, he agreed to meet up. But then literally from there, from when we had our first meeting and first spoke about like the video that we wanted to do and the sort of videos that we do want to do, we just kind of struck up a really good sort of working relationship. And then we became like, best friends and stuff like that. And, we've had like so many different milestones in our careers together at the same time, from us doing the videos together. So it actually paid off. The videos got us on TV, and it's helped launch like our acting careers, as you see it today. So yeah, it's always been like a special part of the journey so far, because more people more people know me or like me for the sketches than anything else. Like, Dreaming Whilst Black is a close one now, but it's the sketches, man. That's the ones that, because it's been like almost 10 years,
bro, and it's still hell.
Bro, yeah.
When I was researching for this, like as I was watching the back, I was still busting up because it's like they're just so relatable, and it's just like funny, and it's like the it's like whether it's the anger or the emotion that you do, it's like, okay, even when you tell the story about your dad, like straight away I see the old caffeine. So I can see that character's but I will say though, because I remember like following both accounts, both Tommy Expensive and yourself, and you were as active on social media. I say he was. Yeah. Like there was posts like every 6 months or here, then everywhere, and I was like, I need more, please, because. And so I'm curious to know like what was going on for yourself, because there's a lot of the times we hear experiences of people who like blow up quickly, say on social media, but it's not necessarily how they want to be associated, in terms of like pigeonholing themselves or stuff like this. So I'm not saying that might be your case, but I'll be interested to know like what was going through your head at the time.
So I remember, so at first the first year that we were doing the videos together, 2015, we did like, that's what we did all of the videos that people like and the videos that people keep on, like we did all of them in 2015. Like we didn't do any other videos before or after 2015 in terms of those sketches. So all those sketches came that year. And then after that year, Tom said he didn't want to do sketches anymore because he didn't want to pigeonhole himself in like just doing only comedy roles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he quit doing the videos, and because for me it was kind of like a partnership, in the sense of like doing videos. I didn't really want to do much videos with like other people, so I was just kind of like, I'll just go back to doing what I've been doing, which is training. That's what I was doing throughout the time, training in different courses. So honestly, like through that time, when I wasn't active on social media, like say the way I am more now, I was just I was just training, I was just grinding, because I was just like, okay, I've done all these videos, but they haven't necessarily translated to like tangible profits as of yet. So I was just kind of like, it's good, but it's still not putting me exactly where I wanted to be. Which it hadn't done yet, but it did do later. But so that's all that sort of was. And I'm just not that way inclined anyway. I'm not like everything I do needs to go on social media, or I need to do the video. Like, I just kind of did it when something funny came to my mind. I was like, yeah, let's do this video, and then That's pretty much how I worked, you know. But they always used to I remember Tommy always used to get onto me, just like, you need to put out more videos and be more consistent. I was just kind of like, yeah, but we're not. If we're not doing it together, then what's the point? Yeah. We're not doing it. But yeah, it's all worked out well. I kind of want to do videos again a little bit, because I see a lot. You know what's so funny now is that I see a lot of younger like actors and comedians that do like a lot of videos that we did. Like they remake them.
Oh, they're remaking them.
Yeah, which is crazy because it's been like 9 years now, almost 10 years. So it's so interesting to see like kids that are like, not kids, but young people that are like, you know, between 19 and 25 that are remaking our videos because they used to watch it when they were kids. So it's kind of like, whoa, you know. And it's funny because, you know, they're still not as good as us, but... Keep on trying, kids. No, I'm joking. Kind of joking. But no, I kind of want to make more. I want to collaborate with some of the younger actors and stuff like that. Only because that's just the way I wanted it to be when I was coming up. I wanted to collaborate with the guys that were doing it like before me and stuff like that. So I just want to keep that sort of vein going, and it's good because. In some of like the workshops that I teach and stuff like that, some of the young actors like / comedians, they've come into like my workshops and like I've like taught them and stuff like that in workshops, which is really cool to actually meet them and to pick their brains and just to actually hands-on try and help them improve in their craft, you know. So yeah. It's a great time. The video days, that's what I call them.
Yeah, I feel like those times were literally like a golden era of like Black British comedy because you had like stand up happening all the time. You had Vine, you had the sketches that you guys were doing, and it's funny because like I feel if you the amount of traction that you guys got back then is incredible. Especially if you were to translate that to based on inflation, towards
now, that's the thing. Like they would be like,
gone.
Yeah, gone.
And then you're like, then you start reconsidering because sometimes I wonder like, do we hustle backwards? Yeah, hustle backwards in the sense that do we start businesses or start writing our own thing just to be rescued by someone else to give us a big opportunity? Rather than if we stick to our like writing or smallish businesses and stick to that and then that creating itself into a big thing, you know, like over time. But it's like you need patience, you need the time, you need all these different factors to work in your favor. Patience is massive, like, and timing is everything. Because if you think about your journey, it's like from where you've got to where you've been to where you are now. It's literally is patience.
Oh yeah. Patience, like that's one thing I have learned. Like that's one thing I always say. Timing, like, you know, you just got to keep sticking then with the patience and the belief, then you'll get there.
Has there been something, maybe it's an audition or a role that you really thought you were gonna get and you didn't get it?
All the time.
How'd you get over that?
All the time. It happened like this year, but how many times? It's this, you know what? You realize it's the nature of this business. It's like when you not reach like a new level, but when you like always smash like a target that you had for yourself. Like, okay, so I want to be on TV and I want to be like an extra and I want to be a supporting character. I want to be a lead character. When you do like you always kind of reach like a new point. It's like, okay, so you've done this now, so you can go for these sorts of roles. When you go for these sorts of roles, now you're up against all these other actors that are, you know, that can all do what you do just as well as you. So it's not really, so it becomes less about what you can do and just more about the choices that they're making for whatever reasons. Like, you know, sometimes if they've cast an actor and the actor looks a certain way and they're supposed to be playing siblings, then the person that looks more like him that did a good job is going to get the role as opposed to the person that did the best job that maybe they don't look enough like the person that they've already cast. So there's so many things that go into it that you learn to not take it personal, even though it's very difficult. It's very difficult because, you know, you start spending the money, you know, you start telling yourself, yeah, man, I'm gonna this buy this. Yes, finally I can do this. And then, you know, they call you and say, unfortunately, you were great. That's what they like to give you shit sandwiches, man. They'll be like, you know, you were amazing, it was beautiful. Unfortunately, it's not going to go your way, but we're going to get you back in for something else, okay? We're going to get you back. It's like, thanks, guys. Yeah, but, you know.
You must have to go for so many opportunities, like, and just build a thicker skin.
Yeah, it's so funny though, because like now I'm in a situation where like you watch a lot of programs and like you're watching characters and like, oh, I auditioned for this character.
and you're like, I could have bodied this.
Yeah, man. It's like, what? I could have done that. Like, you know, and sometimes it is like that. Where you're just like, bro, why? Like, you know, you know, it's. I'm sure other actors, if you watch this, you'll know what I mean. But you know, it's what happens, man. You just can't take it personal, because if you do, then you're just gonna. Then every time you don't get a job, you're always gonna be like, "Oh my God!" Like,
I mean, it is a little bit personal.
It's like, it is.
My look, the way I talk,
people are looking at what you can do, and they're saying yes or no. Like, it is very much. It's personal on some level where they are saying no to you. You know, there is something about you that they're saying,
I don't want you.
They're saying no to you. But maybe it's more there's something about this person that they have to say yes to, as opposed to.
I like the way that frames actually. Yeah, it's not that we have to say no to you. We have to say yes to him.
Person. And I get that. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's much easier to digest, and it's much easier to understand after a few of those rejections, because, you know, the thing that kills you is just the hope, just building up, like. And it's the weight as well, like knowing that you've done this audition and knowing that you could be in Italy for the next 5 months. Do you know what I mean? And then like you're really broke, and if you get this job, it can, like, you know, it completely, like, so there's so many things that go into it that make it like really difficult, and it doesn't get any easier. No, it does get easier. It doesn't become like completely easy unless like when you're rich, then obviously you don't have to work. The stakes aren't the same. But when it's like now, where it's like, you know, you're making a living, but, you know, a certain job can really change like your whole career, change your whole financial outlook, change how you can treat your family and stuff like that. When you start getting to those sorts of things, like, you know, I've got friends that you know, and it's so difficult because when you do go up for like the big jobs, when they're paying you like, you know, 20, 30,000 an episode, and you can be earning like, you can be earning really great money. Like these American shows, man, they pay a lot of money. When you can be doing stuff like that, they get you to sign contracts. Like you sign the deal before you've got the job. So when you're in like in the final like couple of people, then they send you the deal. They send you all sorts of NDAs and stuff like that. So you're getting excited, bro, because you're looking at the contracts with your name on it, saying that, you know, the character name, and it's like, okay, like, this is like, and yeah, this is the deal that you will sign in principle. So you're just like, damn, shit, I'm going to make 300,000. Oh, shit. Like, bro, so think about the excitement. So it's all positive now. You know, and then you do the audition. Let's say you have a really good audition and it's great. And you're just like, bro, okay, it's like you're waiting for a phone call. It's like a phone call can change everything. Do you know what I mean? So when you don't get the phone call, or when you get a different kind of phone call, and the energy is just like, hey, that's where my agent just like, hey, so it's like,
tell me about your first phone call. The first phone call.
The first phone call. It was actually a good one. Because it was like, so one of my first few auditions when I moved to like my agent I have now, I got one of my first few auditions, which was good. I cried, man. Yeah, because it's like you put so much work in and you get so much rejections that when you do get that little like acceptance, it means a lot. Like even if you thought that you were gonna get it, because this one I thought I was gonna get it, but you still don't because you still that doubt because you've seen it before where you think, hey, I've got this, and you don't, because it happens where, hey, they're blowing smoke up your ass. They're like, oh, that was amazing. You're great. No, I can't wait. No, I think this is going to be, and then you don't get the job and you're just like, bro, you were saying some shit in the room, bro. Like, you were saying some shit. But, yeah, man. So that first phone call, I cried, man. I was just like, yeah. Because because the thing is, you see your agent's name and you know that they're not going to call you for no reason. They're going to call you because that's the thing. One thing you realize about getting an agent is like they don't call you for no reason. They don't call you to chat. Well, sometimes they'll call you to chat. Let me not lie, because during lockdown they would call to chat. But
I thought they would do more of a good job to like keep you in case you might go elsewhere.
Well, you know what? It all depends on what. Like, so I was doing a job just before lockdown, and then what happened was basically like, well, not the agent, because with your agent you're kind of, if I'm not getting work, then so it's like, that wouldn't be the time to drop them. But like, say if you had a job, then they would pay you like a retainer through like lockdown, more to like look after you. But anyways, that's like how they protect talent. But what was I saying? Yeah, so that first call it was for like the show that I'm doing now, actually, the show that's out now, a show called We Are Lady Parts. This season two that's out right now, Channel 4. So catch it. But when I got the role from season 1, like 5 years ago now, yeah, man, it was like my first job that I got with this agency, and I kind of was feeling like, am I good enough to be at this agency? Because it's like one of the best agencies in the country. So I remember I was just thinking like, damn, like if I don't get one of these first few jobs, maybe they're gonna drop me in. Like, it's irrational things. But so yeah, it was a lot of relief when I got that first call. And I felt like that really got the ball rolling in terms of just being able to be like, okay, I can book jobs. Like it's not luck, because the first time you get a few jobs, you're just like, is it luck? Like, did they pick me by accident? Or you just think all these ridiculous things. Like you just think, nah, anything but my talent. Like, it's got to be like, nah, they know me from before. Like, nah, like you're good. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, a lot of validation with that first call, and a lot of relief and belief that I can do.
No, that's amazing, because you're going from like that to then being on set, like, because The Kitchen is like your biggest production to date.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Amazing, man. That was sick. That was so good. Like, big Netflix movie. Daniel Kaluuya's there. Kano's there. These are just your work colleagues, like, that you're just sort of talking to every day, talking about work, and like, bro, I grew up listening to Kano, so to now be like working opposite, and I watched him like in every single episode of Top Boy. Like, I loved his performance, so to now just be like opposite man, just working, and we're like equals. Do you know what I mean?
Bro, I've always wondered like how that must feel, because if I look at, say, like another example, like Mbappe, yeah, where you literally were watching these men on TV, or like, look, man, you're watching these people on TV, and now you're literally balling next to each other. So again, listen to music, and now you're actually next to these people. That must do something completely different.
It's surreal, man. It's surreal, like, and it kind of just it's positive, because it's like, yeah, like, you realize how much of a glass ceiling you put on yourself, but it's presented to us, I think, as black people in certain parts of London, just in terms of like from when we were kids. Just think about the things that we thought was possible, and just how far away it seems to, like, like, just look at the wall here, look at all these people, like, like, I've been in the room with so many of these people now, or like met some of these different people. Like, I'm looking at people like Sterling and like Lewis Hamilton and Jay-Z and Serena Williams on the wall here, and now it doesn't seem like, before it would have been like, what, like, been crazy, but now it's just kind of like, no, like, if you do your work, you'll be in these places and you'll work with these people, and you just have to act like you belong here. And that's the thing. Like, that's a hard thing, to act like you belong, but yeah, you belong, man.
How do you get that confidence? Like, did you have anyone kind of mentoring you, or was it just figuring it out by yourself?
I've had mentors in different walks, different sorts of like reasons, but I think for me, just the main thing was just like when they say action, and then I get to do what I do, and then you get like people come up to you, that was like you start to be like, yeah, man, like
I got this.
Yeah, like that's what it is. Like, just believing that, I'm just doing what I've always done at just the highest possible level. So it's like, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what I did to like get. I just think I've always had the confidence. It's just now you actually get to do the stuff that you've always dreamed about. It's mad. Like, I can't, till now, I still can't really put it into like, because it's just like, I'm just living this wild dream that's not ending.
Well, on the topic of dreams, right? So like, what are your dreams now? Because I imagine they would have like changed.
Yeah, they grow, innit?
Yeah, and grow, yeah.
Yeah, definitely to like lead like a movie, like a big. I want to do a big sci-fi movie, man. I want to do like a.
I love sci-fi.
I want to do like a good movie about like space, or like a superhero thing, or just something supernatural, like, or like mythical. Do you know what I mean? That would be cool, because I feel like we need some good black mythical stories. Like, think about growing up here. There used to be like so many different things, man. Like all these fantasy movies, man, all these quest movies.
Never Ending Story.
Yeah, man,
I love Atrium.
There's so many of these things, like, and there's like all these like Harry Potters, and there's just so many sick things out there, like for everyone else, innit? So I feel like, yeah, man, I want to do like a really peak, big, black, like mythological sort of supernatural, like franchise, man.
Yeah, because you know what, like, it's not mythological. Well, it's not like sci-fi or anything like that. But The Woman King, to me, one of the best films that have been made.
Yeah,
underrated. And I feel like that in itself, we should get a part 2. We should get a part 3.
Think about how many people will grow up and then they see that film and then they can see, they'll be like, damn, like that's us. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Whereas like growing up, we were starting to get that through the 90s, like into the 2000s. We were starting to get more stuff, but it was all American. Yes. So then there's another thing within that. And so now what we're seeing with like Dreamworks Black and shows like Borders and stuff, now we're getting like a lot more of the Black British perspective, like as a spectrum, as opposed to just Top Boy, which is problematic when it's just one thing. But when it's a part of a spectrum, then it's a beautiful quality show.
Have you watched American Fiction?
Yeah.
Great film, and because it explored for those who haven't watched it, like it explores the complexity of the lived experience of being a black person, and then having I wouldn't say woke, but like having the super tapped in like dramas, as well as like the more like, I don't want to say this, but like more like say ratchet, more like crazy kind of stories, and like how say a university person who isn't necessarily from the hood, but they create a story which works for people to like relate to and whatever, and then that's what most people put their money into, rather than the more diverse stories that might come from different areas of the hood, as it were. And I always wonder, like, where's the missing link in terms of like, how can we get more of these rich, vibrant, different stories, especially from the Black British perspective? Because in America, we had Atlanta and we had Insecure, like two, say, flagship programs, and like,
which like spawn
so much.
Different, yeah.
It spawn.
Yeah, like, no, for real. And like, because and the thing is, what comes from that is like when it's done and it's done really well, people are like, oh, like, okay, this is great. I didn't know you black guys are like, I didn't know you guys lives are interesting like this. I didn't know you could, not shoot and kill each other. Like, no, but for real, like that's what it is. Like they'll see shows like Insecure, and then it's like really popular, and it's like. And that's why like shows like Dream Whilst Black will now exist, because you see the success of that. It's like, okay, we want to tap into that market. So for them, it's still business, and then for us, we're like, okay, it's business for you, but at least we're still getting to tell our stories. So what you want is to be able to take the leverage of doing these stories, doing really good work, and then take that money and then reinvest it quite quickly into just trying to make more stuff at a certain level, so that we can just be like self-sufficient and have our own channels and just have our own stuff, so that it's not always you have to go to Channel 4, you have to go to BBC, you have to go. It's not always that you have to do that. You can be like, no man, let's go to our channel, let's partner up, and then we can approach Channel 4 with a co-production, as opposed to saying, oh, please make my show. It's like, hey, this is the show, want to get on board?
So like the existing people who have kind of made it, quote unquote, they should be doing more to like reinvest.
I would say if they did more, and some of them are, then it only helps us. It helps to solve this problem. Like you got people like Daniel Kaluuya. Like you look at The Kitchen, that's exactly it. He won an Oscar, became a Hollywood star, comes back here. You made this big black film, and you basically put everybody in their first movie. Yeah. Realistically, this Kano's first movie. A bunch of the kids in the film. It's their first movie. It's my biggest ever. It's not my first movies, but it was one of my biggest ever. It's my biggest ever movie. And you give people opportunities that they necessarily might not have gotten before. And then that can open them up to a new audience, and then, then the rest kind of does itself. And that's like an example of what I'm talking about, whereby he used his leverage and his clout as an Oscar winner to make his production company, and then co-produce and make a massive big budget Netflix feature film, which creates lots of jobs within the community, because there's also that aspect of it. And then it also gives opportunities to a plethora of young black actors who otherwise might not have got that opportunity. So that in itself is an example of what I'm talking about in terms of like, our elites that go and do amazing things and also come back and spread the wealth,
spray that cash.
Yeah.
It's a nice different perspective, because I mean it's also a perspective that we'd want to see in like different industries, like especially in the corporate, because I feel like sometimes what happens, I remember growing up, and like the ones who make it from our community, they don't share the secrets, like they keep it to themselves, and their thing is, if I did it, why can't you? Like I'm not here to pull you up with me. So I like the reframing of it, because I honestly do think like it's up to each one of us, like as soon as we get to another level, to try and do what we can to like raise the level with us or raise the bar. And it shouldn't even seem as a competition. Like I think at the end of the day, you should want those coming up to even be better than you, because they're the ones that are going to push the industry forward. And like if you're seen as the like, I don't know, the person who actually has a why or strong purpose, like within the industry, which is beyond the work that you do, then I think that in itself can live longer than you.
Yeah, 100%, and that's what it's about, man. It's about like, you get through the door, and then you kind of leave it open for the next person. You leave it wider. You leave it open wider than when you found it. That's if you can do that and make it a little bit easier for the next people to come through, then that's all it is. And if we all do that, then in 100 years, that person coming through the door in 100 years, they're just going to walk into something beautiful that's been lasting 100 years. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, just kind of work towards doing your part in that, because, again, when I was coming up, I wanted to have that access to meet someone like a Daniel Kaluuya and listen to them speak and ask them a few questions, and then just kind of take that knowledge and try and apply it,
Just run with it, man. Is it like I went to school with Daniel actually.
Oh, so done.
Yeah, he's a rapper, yeah. Still a normal guy, like
funny. That's the thing that's crazy, right? He's mad normal, mad normal. It's just like wow, you know.
And he was telling me about like for him how he had to go to the US to like kind of make it, as it were. Yeah. Do you still see that as a thing today?
Yes and no. I think if you go to the US and do well there, then it will automatically be easier here. Because over there they just know how to do things properly over there in terms of like just how they pay and how they market things. You know, like when I look at like a show like Dream or Else Black, and I look at the success of it and the sort of reaction it got. If this was in America, it would like. Do you see what I'm saying? But because it's here, it's just kind of like,
here's your box.
Yeah, it's like this niche little thing. Not little thing, but it's this niche thing that if you know, you know.
Bro, I you know what, yeah, because even for me, like I saw the marketing, this and the other. I was like, let me just watch it. I was surprised at how good it was. Yeah. Like no offense, like to anybody, but I was like, this is really, really good. And it struck up like a hunger in me, right? To say like, I want more of this because I'm tired of seeing like the played out like BBC dramas or like the played out shows. Like I need more. I need more of these different stories, especially when we get like there's only so many things. There's only so many hours in the day to watch programs, right?
Word. So you want to fulfill your time with
almost like fulfilling
something good,
And I think the thing that struck me more about that, because it was like the drive, it's like the underdog story of like trying to make it, and then you can see how that in itself can play out in so many different series.
Yeah.
And like the way it ended, it didn't end in a way where it's like closed the loop. It ended in a way like, oh, did he fully sell out, or is he gonna come back for it? And that made me say, I need a season 2.
Yeah, I need to see what happens season 2.
Excellently written. Man. Like I'm really, really looking forward to
Shout out Ajani and Ali Hughes.
Trust me, man. Bro, I could talk to you for hours, man. Honestly. So as we wrap up, I've got a couple quick fire questions for you. Yeah. So first question: what's a piece of advice that you hear people give all the time, but when you hear it, you actually think it's bad advice?
Oh, damn. Oh, that's a good question, you know. Thinking, what do I hear someone say to people? It's like, that don't work for me.
Yeah, give me some examples.
Yeah.
Some examples might be follow your dreams, or the sky's the limit, be yourself.
I agree with one of those ones, though. I mean, those have all literally worked for me. But sometimes it is wrong for some people. Like, you shouldn't follow your dreams, bro. Some people, hey, don't follow that dream.
Oh, there might be a new one. So, like my last guest, he said, it's not follow your dream, it's find your dream. Like understand the dream.
Okay, you know what? Yeah, that's I disagree with that. Because not everyone can like have the dream, bro. Like, you know, and there's nothing wrong with like having a non-dreamy life. Like just having a sort of, you know, you have your family, you have your home, and voila, that's kind of all that matters in life. You know, like having your family is kind of the only thing that matters. But you know, that's another topic. But I'm sorry I couldn't answer this question.
No, it's fine. All right, I've got next question. Yeah.
Yes.
What's a piece of advice you wish you listened to earlier?
You know what? I feel like believe in yourself in a sense that early on, I thought you had to be like a certain kind of way to like to succeed in acting. Whereas what I've realized is that just being like yourself, 100%, like it's just an appeal that literally nobody else can have, because you know you are yourself. So yeah, I'd definitely say that's a bit of advice I wish I took a little bit sooner, but you know, it's worked out all right. Yeah.
What's one tip or trick that helped you get into the zone?
You know what? Easy for me is just looking at a picture of my son. Yeah, that's the easiest thing. Like, if I need to do something, you just look at the reason. It's like, yeah, okay,
like, Daddy, this is for
that's
me.
it. Yeah, need to pay that bill.
All right, good one. What's one book or film that you recommend to people the most?
Woo! Okay. Book, Into the Woods by John York. It's like a storytelling book about writing. And film, Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction?
Yeah, Pulp Fiction, man.
Where?
It's just a great film, man. And it's one of the early films that I saw, like one of the first great films that I saw. And I was just like, how can somebody make something like this that's like this good? Because I love the story of the film, and I love just the way it's all cut, and I love the style of it, and I just love how the performances of the actors in the film, it's the sort of thing that you're just like, I want to make a movie like that.
I love how like apparently all of Tarantino's films are in the same universe.
Yeah,
like that. So you've got vampires, you've got murders, you've got like everything there. Like I think that's so sick.
It's like, yeah.
Okay, what's one film that you have seen that you wish you were the lead for? It could be anytime. Anytime. It could be before you were born.
Okay. Ooh. Wow, that's a classic one. You know what? Yeah, I'm gonna go with the kid in me, and I'm gonna say Men in Black. Will Smith. Hey, see what I saw that as
That's
a
good
kid,
one,
yeah?
though. That's a good one.
I wanted to be. I wanted to have that thing. Yeah. Hey, nah. Hey, I wanted to be in Men in Black, man. Yeah.
That's a good one. Okay. Final question: what would be your words of encouragement for our listeners?
It's gonna sound so generic. Sorry. You got this. Everything that you need, you already have. And smile. Yeah, smile.
Final question. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Dems_lad. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's Dems Lad, isn't it? Dems_lad. Yeah, that's the only place to find me.
Bro, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Hey, pleasure, man. Thank you, man.